In this lesson, we're going to demonstrate how to configure the dynamic trunking protocol, also known as DTP for short. Our lab involves a simple local area network consisting of 2 switches and 2 PCs. Each PC belongs to a different VLAN, and each VLAN is configured on its respective switch. We have already configured the VLANs, the members of those VLANs, and we have also associated the necessary IP addresses with the 2 hosts. So what we need to do next is to establish connectivity between the 2 switches and play with the dynamic trunking protocol's settings. As such, I will start off by connecting the 2 switches with a copper crossover cable on port 24. Then I will go into the first switch. And the first thing I would like to do is to run show interfaces fast Ethernet 0/24, which is the port I just connected the cable to, and switch port. If you look at the output of the command, we can see a specific line that reads negotiation of trunking on, which refers to the fact that the dynamic trunking protocol is enabled by default. I will go into the global configuration mode and into the same port. And I will run switch port, mode, dynamic. And these are the 2 options to choose from. The first option, dynamic auto, will tell the switch to wait passively for the connected switch to ask to form a trunk. If the connected switch doesn't ask to form a trunk, no trunk will be established. And the desirable option will make the switch to actively try to form a trunk with its connected switch. I will select auto, and I will do exactly the same thing on the other switch as well. So conft interface fast Ethernet 0/24, switch port, mode, dynamic, auto. With that done, I will fast forward the time to make sure that this setting has been implemented. And now let's see if any trunks have been configured. Show interfaces trunk. There are absolutely 0. Similarly, if I switch over to the other device and I run show interfaces trunk, we can see that no trunks have been formed on the second switch as well. This is because we set both switches to dynamic auto, which means that the dynamic trunking protocol will have both switches to wait passively, with each switch waiting for the other to make the first step, if you like. As a result, no trunk is formed anywhere. So I will go back into global configuration mode and into the 24 port. And this time I will change it to desirable. As soon as I do that, we are getting some feedback that the fast Ethernet 0/24 port has been bounced. And now, if I run end show interfaces trunk, now we can see that the trunk has indeed been established. We can see the mode that we set to desirable. We can see that the port is now in trunking status, and we can see which VLANs are allowed to travel through it. It goes without saying that if we move over to the other switch, we can see almost exactly the same output. The reason why DTP came into being was to make switch interconnections plug and play, so that 2 Cisco switches could automatically agree to trunk when needed, saving administrators the effort needed to configure trunks manually everywhere. However, it is recommended as a best practice to disable the dynamic trunking protocol in production environments today, mainly because of the associated security risk whereby an attacker could potentially trick your switch into forming an unwanted trunk, gaining access to multiple VLANs. So as a best practice, it is considered better to manually and statically configure trunk ports with the switchboard mode trunk command, specify the allowed VLANs with VLAN pruning that we have covered in another lesson, and disable DTP altogether. So to do that, I will go back into the first switch and into the global configuration mode and back to the same port. I will statically set this port to be in trunk mode always. And next, I will run switchboard no negotiate to disable DTP completely, which is why if I run end and I run show interfaces fast Ethernet 0/24 switchboard, we can now see that in the output it says negotiation of trunking off, meaning DTP is now disabled. I will save my changes, close the window, and do exactly the same thing on the other switch as well. Make it to be always trunk and disable DTP. Verify. And we can confirm that DTP has been disabled on this switch as well. I will save my changes and close the window. Thank you very much for watching.